Hello friends! We are on our way up the Mineral King Road for the first time this season. The Mineral King Road is open to Silver City only for cabin owners, which we are. So we want to go up and check on our cabin and see what's going on.
So it's July 21st and we haven't yet been up. Normally the road is open to the public from late May through the end of October. It's closed during the winter because of snow, but this year, because of record rain and snowfall, the road was washed out in about a dozen places. It is still closed to the public. There have been temporary repairs made that have opened it up to park officials and then to cabin owners who are permitted to go up and check on their cabin. So this will be the first time in 2023, mid-July, that we've made it up to our cabin.
Here's the first major washout, and you can see how it has been reconstructed. Robert's going to take the truck over it. Let me show you what it looked like before. So now we have these berms of rocks with the caging around it, and then these very sturdy barricades. Robert just drove over the wooden part of it, but underneath are steel beams. So here you can see it from another view. There is the concrete steps that have been created up to the barricades, and underneath the barricades, as you can see, there are those rock cages. But there's also a big hole right there. And that has been covered up with the steel beams and the wooden planks. So, great job, but also temporary. Here's another area where the road washed out, and they have reconstructed it so that it is safe to drive on. You can see there all of the rock cages and then the barricades, all the plastic there, hoping that the hill doesn't erode. Despite the unusual and torrential rains that we had, the historic bridge, the Kauai Bridge, stood tall and is still here and doing well, and so much water in the river. The Kauai Lake, as we came up, was full to the tippy top. And we talked to a resident of Three Rivers who told us that it has already been released. Water has been released from it once, so it refilled itself from all of the snow melt. Big year for water. We're passing the potholes here. I believe it's Squirrel Creek, but we have not seen this much water flowing over these potholes in, I don't know, the last 5 years or more. Extraordinary. Yikes! Here's the section of the road that was obstructed by a massive boulder. And you can see here the remnants of the boulder. And on the top, you can see their attempts to insert explosives so that they can break it into pieces. So interesting. Here's the pieces of the rock that were exploded from the boulder that I just showed you. So they moved all of the remnants of the rock to the side of the road here and piled them up. You can see as Robert passes through, it's still a very narrow one-lane passageway because of the boulder that is still obstructing part of the road. Here's a portion of the road just above the boulder. You can see Robert's coming through. It is a very significant disruption to the road here. Big, big washout. There have been so many washouts on the park road that I couldn't take pictures of all of them. But this is interesting because there's this huge boulder that just rolled across the road. There are several dozen washouts on the road just like this, plus deep ravines on the other side, the mountainside of the road as well. Taking this outside the window, but oh my Lord, look. Whew. 2 years ago, we had a massive forest fire here up in the Mineral King area, and it came within 1 mile of our cabin. So we were very frightened last season that we would lose our cabin. We did not, but the remnants of the fire, as you can see here, are still quite devastating. Although, you know, nature is resilient, you can see all the green. But this is one of the reasons why the flooding was so significant on the road this year, because there wasn't enough vegetation to keep the hillsides intact. We just made it up to our cabin and everything looks to be in okay shape so far. So we're so glad to be here. But I didn't do the drive up the Mineral King Road, my husband did, and so I want him to tell you how it was. So I'm gonna ask you 2 questions, Robert. The first is, how would you compare the drive this year, post washout, to the drive last year? And then secondly, how would you compare the state of the road that is county maintained versus the state of the road that is park maintained?
Well, first of all, I think it feels safe despite some of the conditions I'm going to talk about. Both the county and the park have done a good job of clearing at least 1 lane and marking dangerous areas. So in that sense, it's okay. Do not drive up at night. There are places where the road just drops off and there's a cone there. And if you don't see that at night, you're going to drive into a ditch and maybe over the side of the road. So I would say I was surprised at how many places there were significant washouts, probably a dozen. And by that I mean places where water courses, natural water courses that were intersected by the road, nature has reclaimed those and carved out a portion of the road. And for the most part, on the park side of the road, the upper part of the road, they've just put a cone there and made certain that there's enough space on the left side, the mountain side, to get by without driving into the washout. So there are about a dozen significant washouts, which have not, there's been no effort to repair them on the park side of the road. Secondly, there are hundreds of potholes. That's unusual. Now, the park has not yet begun to work on its side of the road, so, you know, additional potholes are understandable, but it just seems like the winter really beat the road up pretty badly. So lots and lots of potholes, gullies on the mountain side of the road, the upside of the road that go on for, you know, 20, 30 yards. And then in about a dozen places, the road's just either completely silted over for significant stretches. That is, you're driving on dirt, not asphalt, or the asphalt's been washed away and the dirt's just been graded. So I don't know what that is. So the overall effect is the road's in pretty bad shape, but it feels safe. I think Jill didn't.
I disagree. I don't feel like the road feels safe, and it's certainly not safe for public use.
Yeah.
For the few people that might come up that own cabins to check on it, maybe it's okay. But there is such significant damage especially on the park side of the road, that lots of cars up and down, I think, would not be safe.
So the road is split into two pieces. The roughly lower 10 miles is maintained by Tulare County, and the upper 10 are maintained by the park. The park has done nothing yet other than to clear boulders and debris flow to allow for a single lane. It's done nothing to repair the road. So the upper part of the road, the upper 10 miles, is in pretty rough shape. The lower 10 miles, the county has made temporary repairs, which are fine. You've seen probably earlier in the video, a couple of places where there were big washouts, and the county has put in rock and beams and steel and that type of thing. We're looking at a yellow-bellied
We're going to have to go.
marmot.
I mean, we've got to chase him away. We're going to chase him away.
We see marmots coming out from under our cabin, which is
Not
bad
a good
sign.
thing. Okay.
Marmots like to chew on pipe and tubing and that kind of thing.
So we got a lot of work to do.
So anyway, it's drivable. The county has done temporary repairs. Clearly, they're going to have to make permanent repairs, but that's going to take a longer time. And the park has made no repairs. I would exercise caution. I would not drive up at night.
And you cannot drive up in any case if you are not a cabin owner.
Home again, jiggity jig.